So this is the reality of being in educational administration. You're just going to be confronted with all kinds of situations where the right thing to do is not necessarily clear. Moving along, page 4 of the text, they lay out the 6 standards that we've talked about just for reference, and you'll notice that standard 5 talks about learning to work in an ethical manner. But I want to call your attention to some things on page 5. One, which is that there's no excuse for not understanding or choosing to ignore certain laws or policies because of personal biases, because of personal beliefs, or for expediency. The reality is that as an administrator in a school, you are legally responsible for what goes on in that school, for the safety of students and staff, that everything that's done there is above board, legal, appropriate, educationally sound, all of that. And you can be called into court for violating those basic principles, fundamental principles of human rights and justice. Now, towards the bottom half of the page, I love this line. It says that school leaders are expected to make rational decisions in an irrational environment. And this is the reality of schools. Not everybody responds rationally to every situation. Students, teachers, staff, everybody has various emotions, that are wrapped up in what they do. Parents, of course, especially, they care about their kids as they should. But we don't always make rational decisions when it comes to our kids or our students or our own employment situation. These are all colored with self-interest, so it's not always in the best interest of everybody that we act. So, but as an educational leader, you need to be responding with appropriate rational approach to everything, regardless of how other people do. So there's a lot of leeway given to administrators, and for all intents and purposes, you are the law of the land. You are the judge, the prosecutor, the executioner, whatever. Courts will give administrators a lot of latitude in how they administer their schools for the safety of students, and that's understood. Okay, moving along. Page 6, ethical leadership is choosing to do the right thing based on sound reasoning. So you've got to have a reason and rationale for your decisions, which is why you want to dive into a book like this and a course like this to understand the arguments for and against any decision that you might make. That's critical because it can't be on the basis of personal opinion or feelings. You have to have a sound reason for what you do. Okay. Moving along here, page 7 talks about ill-structured problems are much more complicated, often involve choosing between alternatives that at least some members of the school community are not going to like. And that's the reality, that you can make a decision that some people are in favor of and just as many people oppose. I know as an administrator, one of the decisions that I hated to make was whether to call a snow day or not. As a private school principal, the buck stopped with me, and so I had to make those decisions. I would often look at the public schools around to see what they did, but nevertheless, there are, everybody makes different decisions, and whatever decision you make, you clearly didn't have the interests of kids in mind, or parents in mind, or safety in mind, or education in mind. Whatever it is, whoever doesn't like your decision, you clearly have missed the boat on it. So, sometimes you will find that these standards are in conflict. And so one of the standards talks about collaboration and including people in the decision-making process. And so you may achieve consensus among the faculty, but they may be agreeing to something that is in their interest and not in the best interest of students. At the end of the day, we must make decisions in the best interest of the students. That's our job. And so we must advocate for them above all else. It talks about a decision-making plan. There's a lot of good material in here. The following chapter, chapter 2, gives a great outline of the law. And so that's useful as well. I don't want to spend any time on this, but let me wrap up with this. I want to tell you a bit of a story that hopefully will help you think through this process of becoming an educational leader and making the right decisions. The story goes like this. Once upon a time, there was a young executive who wanted to become a great leader. And so he made an appointment to talk to the chairman, the CEO, at the top of the corporation headquarters, took the elevator up there, was ushered into the CEO's office, and he said to him, "Look, I'm here because I want to be in your place one day. I want to be a leader, and I'd like you to give me advice on how I can learn to do that." The CEO looked at the young man and said, "I've got just 2 words for you. Good decisions." The young exec thought about that for a minute, pondered it. "So how do I learn how to make good decisions?" CEO said, "I got 1 word for you. Judgment." The exec asked one more question. "So how do I develop judgment?" CEO said, "I've got 2 words for you. Bad decisions." And sometimes that's the way it goes. You learn through bitter experience, having disappointed the wrong people or made the wrong call and realized this was detrimental to the life of the school or the life of kids or teachers or whatever. And you learn from it. What I would tell parents over the years was, look, when we do something wrong, when we make the wrong call, we make a mistake, we will apologize, and we promise that going forward, we will not make the same mistake again. We will come up with some new creative mistake to make. Because the reality is, no matter how long you do this stuff, you're going to be making mistakes. The world is changing. You're going to have a different set of teachers, a different set of students, a different set of parents, a different set of laws, a different set of educational philosophies at work, and you're going to be adapting to that. And as you do, you'll make mistakes. Own up to it, be transparent, be honest, and then move and get along with things because that's life. And I think people will stand with you if you take that kind of a spirit and approach to things. Thanks for listening.